Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Movie Magic Show for Wednesday, the 18th of August, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Shane Bailey, joined by my wickedly talented cast. To my right, he loves his VR and shaking his hips like Shakira. Please welcome the era of Jason Mira.
What up, guys?
Oh, there's some energy. So it's a
Hey. Yeah, I don't know. I'll I don't know, mix it up. We'll get there.
Nice. And to his right, it's the film filleting, TV show hating, vinyl collating, Mr. Movies, Ben Stapleton.
Okay.
How are
Hi,
you,
friends.
Ben?
Yeah, doing good. It's cold here. I got a puffy jacket on. Just sit inside,
Ooh,
as you do.
stay in a puff.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Movie Magic Show every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We chuckleheads get together to love, like, bash, and trash the latest the entertainment world has to offer. If you like that, follow us here on Twitch. You can also subscribe on YouTube for all our past reviews and episodes. Just search Magic Casts on YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter. At Movie Magic Show. We'll let you know when we're going live and also what films we're going to be reviewing. Speaking of films we're going to be reviewing, this week it is Cinema Paradiso, the 1988 classic, the one best foreign feature film way back in the 1990 Academy Awards. Before we get to that, though, let's set up our end games. These are games we like to play at the end of the show. First among them are our movie quotes. We're going to give you two film quotes. You need to try and guess which films they are from. I defer to the amazing Jason Mira for movie quote number one.
Oh crap. Yeah.
I defer to Mr. Movies, Ben Stapleton.
Do you really want me to do mine?
Yeah, go for it,
come on,
Ben.
yeah.
Go for it, Ben.
Oh, okay. You go for it, Ben.
Everyone should know this one. Here we go.
Oh, God, make me feel
He's
bad.
got space dementia.
Nah.
You guys don't know it?
Yes, same here, Jason. I hope you've got another quote from that film prepared, Ben.
Yeah. I
Okay,
hope
I'll
so.
think up some.
And Jason, movie quote number two.
All right. Everybody fights. No one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself.
Ben's got it.
Ben's got it, doesn't
As
he?
per
He's got
tradition,
it, man.
I do not. And this week, the other game we like to play is 6 Degrees. We're going to give you two actors. You need to try and link them via acting colleagues that they've starred alongside in other movies. For example, if you wanted to connect Nicole Kidman to Samuel L. Jackson, one answer would be Nicole Kidman was in Moulin Rouge with Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor was in The Phantom Menace with Samuel L. Jackson. That would be 2 degrees. This week, the two actors you need to try and connect are Rose Byrne and Lupita Nyong'o.
How's that?
Rose Byrne to Lupita Nyong'o. Come on, Jason.
I'm gonna have to look him up. How do you spell it?
Just type in Lupita, Lupita. Come on, you know
Lupita,
Lupita.
yeah.
Everyone knows Lupita.
I'm Googling.
We're gonna
it.
give him a sec.
Of course.
Yeah,
And
come-
who are we joining Lupita?
She's from
To Rose
she's
Byrne.
from that.
Rose Byrne, right?
She's from 12 Years a Slave. She plays Maz Kanata in the most recent Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, she's also in Us as well.
This is how we figure it out at the end of the show. So join us at the end of the show where we'll come up with an answer. But you can let us know your answer in chat. We'll do that at the very end of the episode. Before we get to the end of the show, let's get to the start of the show with our review of Cinema Paradiso. I head on over to IMDb, where it tells me that it has a runtime of just under 3 hours. It was released in 1988. It is a romantic drama, and the synopsis goes like this. A filmmaker recalls his childhood when falling in love with the pictures at the cinema of his home village and forms a deep friendship with the cinema's projectionist. It is directed by Giuseppe Tornatore and written by Giuseppe as well, along with Vanna Paoli and Richard Epcar. It stars Felipe Nure as Alfredo, and the main character, Salvatore De Vita, also known as Toto, played by 3 different actors over the course of the film. As child Toto, we have Salvatore Cascio. As teenage Toto, we have Marco Leonardi. And as adult Toto, we have Jacques Perrin. I won't go through any of the other cast members. There's quite a diverse cast here, but those are the main two characters, I suppose, you
Notable
really
ones,
need
yeah.
to know of. The IMDb rating, it lands at an 8.5, and as you can tell from the title card on the show here, that puts it at number 51 in IMDb's top-rated films of all time. So again, this is audience scores giving their rating on the IMDb network, and it has a Metascore of 80. Anyway,
This movie is better than Alien and Apocalypse Now, according to that list.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'll start by saying that this was a film that I knew only in name, and quite a few months ago, probably more than a year ago at this point, a former colleague of mine by the name of Owen, he recommended this film to me. He knew that, knowing my tastes, he was willing to bet that I would fall in love with it, and I did. He lent me the DVD, and I fell in love. I was bawling my eyes out on the first screening, and the reason he lent me the DVD is because it's not readily accessible on any streaming service, or can't be purchased or rented on things like YouTube Films or Apple Movies, whatever they call them nowadays. So yeah, seemingly not readily accessible. Something recently prompted me to just do another to double check and see if anything had changed, and on doing a search for the film, I found that the whole film is just sitting on YouTube, just free to watch. So I immediately jumped at the opportunity to give the guys homework to watch this one, and we all watched it together at the exact same time last night. I'm very keen to get your thoughts, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Mr. Movies. Ben, Cinema Paradiso. How did you feel going into this one, and how did you feel coming out of it?
It's fun when you watch something together but not together, because it adds this layer of, I wonder what they're thinking about this. I wonder what I wonder what Jason thought about that. I wonder if Shane is thinking the same as me. Which you don't have as much when you're sitting next to the chat. Like, if I was sitting next to you guys, I'd know exactly what Jason's thinking, because he'll laugh at the thing that I wondered if he thought it was funny. All that kind of stuff is just kind of obvious. But I mean, the deeper stuff is like, did you get that reference? Did you understand, like, what were you thinking when this happened? All that kind of stuff you still get to talk to afterwards. And so we still did that, which was great. Actually, I think I liked chatting to you guys afterwards almost as much as I liked the movie. It was a treat, a real treat. It was like, I think I told Caitlin afterwards, like The Notebook, but good. Like how there's like a whole swath, there's a whole army of people who are like, The Notebook is like my favorite movie, The Notebook is like the best movie ever. And they're wrong.
Who says that?
People.
Oh, their favorite movie, The
Yeah.
Notebook.
Yeah.
Let me just
time.
say, I really enjoy The Notebook. I don't think it's the best movie ever. I think it mostly comes down to chemistry between Gosling and McAdams, and I think it's a heartfelt story. But best movie? No,
Well,
not by a long shot.
You and McAdams have. It's a tainted well there, Shane.
True. I mean, you throw
Bias.
Gosling in there, it's hard to resist him as well. Honestly, that's
True.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Gosling fan. I think he's.
Yeah, but this
fine.
was Gosling before he got chiseled and good looking, and he was still baby boy back then.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a cute
Mm.
kind of lead. Less stoic, even though he still didn't say much in The Notebook. Anyways, I don't want to talk about The Notebook. What I meant was, like, this movie is my The Notebook, it's easily a candidate for like one of my favorite movies, which is, there's someone among us that's not here with us today that throws the F word around a lot for actors and directors and movies. Everything that's remotely good, he says it's one of his favorites. It starts to diminish the flavor of the word, but I try my best not to use the F word as much, and I think I have to use it here because although it's only been 24 hours since the viewing, you have to let these things settle.
yes.
I remember when I saw Saving Mr. Banks, I was like, that's it, my favorite movie.
Really?
Well, not favorite movie ever. I was like, this is number one of the year,
Yeah. Sorry to cut in there. I remember this because I was listening back to some old Awesome Diction episodes the other day, and one of the episodes I listened back to was us ranking our favorite films that year. And in the initial discussion, you had put it at number 1, but by the end of our discussion, I'd convinced you to bump it down for Inside Out instead.
Yeah, well, in
or About
retrospect
Time or
now,
something.
after the years have passed, Inside Out's a better movie. I totally love it more, I think. But I mean, St. Miss Banks was great. It's just that the point is, for some reason, I had a prolonged high from watching that one, and I'm still on the high of watching this one. Who knows where it will really sit in my heart after a week or so has passed? But replayability, I think totally. Like 6 months from now, if I ask someone if they want to watch it and they say yes, I'd be totally excited to watch this again. It's one of those movies that's got such a cool world building achievement in it. Like there's this town full of these colorful characters that all like feel like they have a real place in the story and in the journey of the protagonist, and some of them are even just there for our comedic purposes. They don't cross paths with the protagonist at all. Like there's that one guy, I keep thinking about him, who keeps spitting on people in the cinema. He's like up in the mezzanine section, and once a session or whatever, he just like leans over and he's like, that guy, he like spits down and you like hear someone swearing or whatever, and that's his gag or whatever. And like he doesn't play a role in progressing the plot, or he's just there to color the story and to paint the town full of another colorful character. In this case, a bit of a dickhead. Like I would be furious if that guy was in a cinema with me. But anyway, broad strokes. I thought the kid version of Salvatore was a brutal menace. Like I loved it. Like he was my favorite version of the three by far.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved his character when he was a kid, and like he's the thing that sold the deal for me for this kid was he's begging to be like let into the projection room and just to like be around and amongst the atmosphere, and finally he's allowed to sit in there and and have a conversation with Alfredo, and he kind of excuses himself for a second, goes to the bathroom. Alfredo's still talking to him while he's in the bathroom or whatever, and he's like sabotaging the projector, like on purpose, like dialing shit and being a complete little tool. Alfredo comes back and sees like he's up to no good and like kicks him out, and then on the way out he's like, Alfredo, he's like, stop you, and runs off. It's like being a complete little shit for no reason. I loved it. It was really, really funny. There's all these like little moments. Like I've tried to write some notes, and they're all just like little moments. Like I loved when this happened. I loved when that happened. I don't want to reveal too many of what they are. A couple of quotes, just super quotable, even though it was subtitled film, and we spoke about that afterwards as well, very briefly. My last note in here was the Notebook. I want to talk after you guys give me your thoughts about Alfredo and the impact that he had and what it means for his character to me or to the viewer, and whether we agree with his actions or disagree with them, or without trying to spoil it. It's going to be very hard to talk about, but that's a real issue for me going forward. Like not an issue that I have with the movie, but like something the movie gives you to solve afterwards, which I love sometimes in films, and definitely I loved it in this one, where I'm like, okay, I have to really reflect here because I don't know how I feel about this guy from a moral standpoint for what he's done, what he meant to Salvatore, to Toto, what he meant to even the other characters, like his family, and the impact that he had on them for the rest of their lives. And I don't know what I think about it, so I'd love to chat about that a bit later. But anyway, those are my thoughts so far. Absolutely brutally loved it.
Wow.
For sure. Jason.
Yeah, so I approached this film kind of thinking, oh my god, it's a 3-hour film. It's going to be a slog. But knowing the notoriety of this film, and how much you talk about it, Shane, how much you love it, I knew I was going to like it. And it was around about the halfway mark, or just after the halfway mark, because I was like, every now and then I'll like jiggle the mouse to see how far the bar was. I'm like, oh my god.
Mouse
it was
jiggle
a,
here.
yeah, it's a long movie, guys. But yeah, it was around after the halfway mark or something like that. Like, I was really starting to get choked up in a lot more moments that I was like thinking that I was going to. And then so by the end of it, I got to the end, and I was already like over the edge. And then we all jumped back into the voice chat, which I never left, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, you the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time I was there, I was like, because I've done watch parties with some other friends, and we've all just stayed in the voice chat, and we're all just like chatting, like, oh, you know, it's just fun to like bounce off of each other. Yeah, it wasn't until you came on, Shane, and I could hear your voice. I just broke down. I was like,
I came in the middle of that. I came after Shane, mid breakdown, and I thought you were laughing for a few seconds, and then I was like, he ain't laughing.
This movie is like, it's like the Shawshank Redemption without like the sodomy. You know what I mean? Not saying that the Shawshank Redemption, the Shawshank Redemption is a great, masterfully filmed movie, and I'm not saying that this movie isn't. I don't know. I guess this one has to stand the test of time in my mind because I've seen the Shawshank Redemption a long time ago. Still holds up. Watch that film. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? There's no like bad parts of humanity in this film. You know, it's like upbeat most of the time. I mean, like, you see some kids getting like flogged. Like that kid at the start.
How good was that?
At the start, like, where the teacher's just like, you know, what's 5 times 5? And she's just fucking going at him. And like, you see his ear as well, because it's like she's pulling his ear. It's like red. Man, it was crazy. So yeah, that was
Dude,
that.
those kids deserved some of the shit that they like. The stuff
Man,
that those kids were pulling, like, just for kicks, you know, just to entertain themselves.
yeah.
Like, they would walk past a guy who's up the ladder and changing the signs on the cinema
And like,
signage, and they tie his shoes together so he like falls over and practically, you know, falls on his
That guy
back
could've
off the
died.
ladder.
Yeah, could have broken his coxswain or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So like, I sent a message to you guys towards the start. I said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said, hate this kid. Hate this kid. Like, the Toto as a little kid, I hated him.
I guess
Because
he's from someone who demands discipline.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
You discipline children.
Yeah, I do. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, because I was like, he's just doing shit where I'm looking at him like, what the fuck you doing, kid? You know, what the fuck you doing? I don't know.
Like,
Hate it.
he takes his mum says, you know, like, take this money, go get some milk, and he disappears for the night and just uses the money to get into the cinema.
Yeah.
Or wastes it in some other way.
Yeah.
And like the short-sighted thinking nature of this kid, it's just that was infuriating. And his mum's like, I've been looking for you everywhere, where have you been? And he's like, I can't remember what he says, but he lies, of course. It's everything out of his mouth is a lie. And then she's like, did you get the milk? And he's like, no. And he's like, have you still got the money? He's like, no. And you've been at the cinema, haven't you? And she's like beating him in the street, which is like I'm like, yeah.
Mind you, like, in the setting of the film, for those of you watching at home who haven't seen it, this is based in what, in like the 50s after World War II.
So when he's a total little shit, I think it's like the 40s, isn't it? Because isn't it the 50s when he's kind of adolescent?
I
can't remember.
It's shortly after the war has finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it must be mid-40s. It's like, yeah, the war has just finished, and it's
Mm.
like when his dad coming home, it's like, oh, it takes a long time to get back from Russia or wherever he is.
Mm,
So, he'll be a while or whatever. So,
yeah.
yeah, I imagine it'd be about 1945 when
So
he's
yeah,
like 10 or something,
yeah,
10
something
or
like
9 or something like that. He's very small.
Mm. So yeah, he's a little shit as a kid. But I think by like watching the whole film, the character development of where he is as a little boy, and then where he is as an adult, like a well-grown adult, he kind of has that redemption of when he's sitting down talking to his mother at the table, and he said like, I didn't, something like, I didn't realize at the time what you were trying to do for me, and now as an adult I see what you were trying to do to me, and I'm like, thank you for all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there going yeah, apart from like some of the I guess complications that happens in the film, it's like, it's a feel good movie, and like there are some funny moments in it, and the moments in it that I'm thinking, I can't believe they're doing this right now. Like when they're panning across and all the boys are in the front row, watching a scene with that naked lady on the screen,
Yeah.
and they're all just sitting there going, you know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, I just realized this, but the humor has like two punchlines. Every cool, funny joke has like a funny peak, and then it just goes that little bit better. Like in that joke, it's like you're watching all these kids like, and it's like just that is hilarious. Like you're panning across, and all these teenagers are just like watching this smut on the movie or whatever that they're showing, and then the archer like hits one of them like down. He's like that, and then he kind of looks at what they're looking at, and then he just kind of like adjusts his own pants. So like that's the peak.
Little
And then
extra,
there's,
yeah.
The other sexual based one was like they're trying to show this one film in two towns at once. So they're showing the first half of the film on reel one, and then they give it to a kid who has to like ride to the other town and deliver, and then ride back before the second reel is done, so that he can get the second reel over there before the first reel is done over here, and then bring it back, and they're just like back and forward all day. And eventually you see him like riding, and he like sees somebody, and he goes, fuck it, and he just kind of gets off his bike and gives up. And then to
be fair, it's like dusk. He's been riding all day.
He has been riding all day, but still very like not cool thing to
Of
do.
Course,
You deliver the last canister and you say, look, I can't do it anymore. You're gonna have to find someone else or give up on the rest of the sessions. Instead, he just goes AWOL. He's just missing with the like most expensive
half of the film
they ever bought and all this kind of thing. Half of it. He had the second half because the dilemma was, I'll show you the first half again, and they're like, no, just play the second half of the film. He's like, hold on. But the joke there is like, Toto tries to find him and finds him having sex with a girl behind a tree, and that's like the thing. And then he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, but it's so great. He like says something like, it's just so good. He's like, what's wrong with you? But it's so great. Like he's just like, I can't stop. Like there's nothing I can do about it. That's like the extra little bit, which I absolutely loved. And then the other one was they have an outdoor cinema for the summer because it's apparently just too hot to sit inside the theater. So they have like outdoor seats, and people are like peeking over the fence by like just appearing in the canal or whatever on their little boats, and they're just standing up, balancing on their boats, watching the film. And then something in the movie happens that causes everyone to like to like really laugh, like do this off the seat kind of laugh, and literally the seats collapse, and then one guy like falls off the boat, and that's the first plateau. And then he comes out of the water, he's like, and it just like goes even higher. So
you cut out there for a sec, man. He just like he emerges from the water and he's holding an octopus. Like, I got an octopus.
Yeah, he's just like all of a sudden he's like, I found an octopus. He's like so excited about having fallen in the water. I was like, why did they do that? Like, why did they do the octopus thing at the end? It was already really funny, and then I don't know. It's just like how they wrote the humor is they had to just do one extra little peak right at the end, like an extra little
double whammy laugh. Yeah.
I really loved that.
Yeah,
The octopus one in particular. I wrote that one down. Who falls in the water and grabs an octopus? I also love the one where the guy's like, I've seen it already. I'll tell you how it ends. You don't have to wait for the second half to get here. And then like a dude like throws his shoe, like hits him on the head with his shoe. The crowd is rioting against him spoiling the second half of the film. Oh, how about that old man who's like obviously seeing it for like the fifth time or whatever? That
Oh
film.
yeah, and he like
Reciting every line.
He's
Yeah.
reciting every line to the final scenes of the film. That guy would make me furious. I'd be furious.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, I know it's really, really stupid, but this is my brain, so just bear with me for a second. Every time at the end of each film they show and it says like "fine," or it spells out in English. It spells out fine. Like my
Right.
brain is just going, "Oh, it's just fine."
You know what? I never ever did that. I never thought it said the word fine.
Really?
Yeah, I never saw it either. Isn't that funny?
That is so
Oh.
Like I
funny.
see FINE, but my brain doesn't go. That says fine. I read like finne.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why
exactly.
I said. That's why I said this is my stupid brain.
Fair enough.
Just finding humor in every little part of the movie.
Any top line thoughts, Jace? Before I jump in.
I liked the way that it kind of came around again. Like all the things that they introduce throughout the whole film. As he becomes an adult, it's there still. Like that. The owner, the person who buys the cinema again, is there at the end. The priest is there, and even that guy who's like, the square is mine throughout the whole film is still there, because it's like, he couldn't, like, everything has changed, like so much has changed, but there are so many things that are still the same. And yeah, I think they did a really good job in like maintaining certain themes, and the score absolutely helped. With the same feelings, of maintaining the same feelings throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
I just think they did a really good job. And like, if you're watching the show and you're considering watching it, but are put off by the length of the film, just do it.
Grow up.
Yeah. But just do it, because it's
3 hours of a good thing is a great thing.
And like, even if you want to have a bit of a break in the middle and then come back to it, but it's, yeah, like I said, like when I was apprehensive watching it to begin with, because of how long it is, and I don't know if I have the attention span for it. But yeah, I'm really happy that that you suggested it, Shane. I'm very, very happy that this movie exists in my mind, and I'm definitely going to be recommending it to a lot more people. So, and like, it's free. It's on YouTube.
It's a bonus, yeah.
Just one more thought that I forgot to write down, but it's just the basis for why I enjoy it so much, Shane. It gets so much credibility from me straight off the bat, because I agree with the theme. I don't know if I want to call it a theme, but the premise that all this good and bad and life happens around the cinema. Like there's so much value and joy that has come from collective dreaming in a room with others, and sharing sharing a collective space to be set into various emotional states, be tricked by a flat wall and a flick of the light. It's such a cool premise for a film, how it's like the heart of the town is the cinema, and it's where everyone comes to. Some people come to relax, some people come to be entertained, some people come to unwind, some people come to wind people up. It's just what everyone where everyone finds themselves at the end of the day, and I love that. And so the movie could have done all kinds of things wrong, and I probably still would have enjoyed the movie, because I would have just been so on board with where this director is taking me. But he did so many things right as well, so it's like, it makes it even so much better.
Yeah, no, I knew you'd love that aspect of it, and I do as well. Like, just the idea that film and cinema plays such an important role in the lives of the entire cast and this entire community that we find on the screen. you know, like all of us here can vibe with that, right? Like films have played a massive part in our lives. We like before this show, we ran a movie and gaming podcast for what, almost 4 years, and it was us together, you know, almost every Thursday night going to the cinemas and watching something, and then, you know, gathering around my mum's dining table to chat about it every single week for almost 4 years. So yeah, like I too, Ben, am just so on board with this idea, and I can completely, you know, understand why these people have fallen in love with the magic of the of film and the cinema. For me, like this whole film and why it means so much to me, and why I really wanted you guys to watch it as well, is all about the relationship between Toto and Alfredo. Like that's it for me. There's a lot that this film does magnificently. Jason, you touched on the score. I think there are a lot of like filmic techniques in here that I'd love to understand if they were the first time that they were sort of, you know, implemented or achieved. There were a couple of great sort of shots, or not foreshadowing, but just I don't know, just filmic techniques that I noticed, like, oh, okay, this isn't something brand new by contemporary standards, but maybe this was back in 1988, pardon me. Things like, you know, Toto seeing his teacher hit the other student, and then that action casts his memory back to the cinema where Alfredo would like tap the film reels on the cases before unloading them or whatever. Small things as well, like the wind chime at the very start of the film outside, sort of being shadowed on older Toto's face as he's lying in bed. Small things like that. But to get back to my main point, like it all comes down to the relationship between Toto and Alfredo. And I won't get into spoilers, we might do that in just a moment. But that really is the crux of this for me. It's just like what a friendship between two unlikely people or personalities, what that can be. And I've been, you know, very fortunate to have, you know, similar relationships already in my life, where people who aren't family or, you know, would seemingly be unlikely to be friends mean the world to me. And so, and to see Alfredo become somewhat of a mentor and a father figure to Toto, and him impart his own wisdom, just, it hits so truthfully and real in this. And like, immediately, Ben, like when we jumped into the chat afterwards, I noted that, you know, I said I have two favorite quotes in this film, and immediately you knew the first one. You knew exactly the line I was thinking about in my head, because it hits so powerfully, and it makes me reflect on those special relationships that I've had or still have in my life. And man, it's just so powerful. Like I wasn't lying when I told you guys last night that I'm going to cry myself to sleep last night, because this film is just going to play in my mind and make me remember just the joy and the happiness of those relationships in my own life that means so much to me. And I think that's what the film did throughout the entire 3-hour run for me, is just make me reflect on my own love, my own pain, my own joy, my own relationships. Like, it got me thinking about you guys as well. Like I said at the top here, the joy of the cinema and how it's brought us together, and continues to keep us together. I'm not saying that that's the only thing keeping us together, but, you know, it keeps us, you know, coming back here every week, right, to talk about them. So, that's kind of my sappy, holistic perspective on this film. I think it's masterfully done, and it just, everything that it does makes me reminisce and really value a lot of the most joyous times and relationships in my life. And I'm not sure there are many other movies I could name that could really do that outside of like About Time. So yeah, that's kind of why it sits up there for me. And so glad that, you know, as a whole, even though this is a foreign language film, right, like it means so much to a lot of people out there. It's, you know, number 51 on IMDb's top 250, so it's connected with a lot of people, which is great. Before we go any further, I might flag it here and say let's do spoiler discussion, because I'm not sure there's much else we could talk about on this film without talking about nitty gritty.
I mean, like, this movie came out more than, you know, a lot of years ago.
It's 40 years next year. So, but having said that, it is not readily watchable. So what I might do is actually link the YouTube link in the chat here. This is how we watched it. It is just sitting there all 3 hours on YouTube, and highly recommend that you go check it out. I'll make sure that it's included in the YouTube description of the VOD when I upload it there as well.
You know what I was thinking was it'd be a great source for learning Italian. Like if you knew Italian a little bit, needed to brush up, or if you were an intermediate student and you wanted to like start going for full conversation stuff, this would be like a really cool place to go to. Because I was watching it, like I'd read the subtitles and I go like, I know those words. I know all those words. Like when they were saying, I know mortar the farmer, which is like dying of starvation or starving to death or whatever.
Oh, right.
And a bunch of other things which I just got, you know, and you go like, oh, that's the Italian word for that, you know. I don't know why it felt that way, but I feel like it's like one of those, you know how people say when you learn a language, learn like 100 most used words, and then you'll have almost all of the most used phrases, and it's like a great place to begin. Conversing if you need to speak, if you know, visiting another country or whatever. But this felt like, to me, it was like there wasn't a lot of complex language. It was simple, and but effective.
Actually, before we dive into spoilers, just quick questions. Any like criticisms or things just like, oh, okay, that could have been done maybe slightly better? Like the one thing for me is like, it is a long film. I think it's a film of the time, right? Like I think of something like The Great Escape as well, which is also one of my favorite films and a very long movie. Also, I think pushing, actually, it might be more than 3 hours. I'd have to double check that. It's close, if not over. And I think similarly for this film, it's of the time, and I feel as though with, you know, the maturity of the sort of the cinematic medium there of it's just become like storytelling can be so much more efficient than how this movie is put together. And so I think there is a way to create a version of this film that hits equally as well as it does, but is half an hour shorter. And I'll also say that the relationship that's first built between Toto and Elena in the sort of like the middle portion of the film really has very little substance at first. It certainly helped that this is just such a romantic movie, like it romanticizes so much. So the idea of you know, love at first sight between Toto and Elena isn't as hard to believe, I suppose, in this little magical world we find ourselves in. But it really is like, oh my God, she's beautiful. I'm going to talk to you. I'm in love with you. I can't stop thinking about you. And we just go along for that ride. So I can understand why someone might have the criticism, oh, okay, I didn't truly believe that they were in love because they didn't sell me on their love. So they're the only two things that jump to mind for me. But I'm curious to hear if there was anything from your guys' perspective.
Yeah, what's up with all of the lemons in the fruit bowls? Like, people have fruit bowls that are just filled with nothing but lemons.
I did not notice this. This is so fascinating.
Yeah, like, wow.
Okay, just me then. I'm like, lemons aren't great, man. Hide that shit. I mean, like, nobody wants to. Like, the purpose of a fruit bowl is like, hey, feeling peckish? This is readily available for you. Just to reach out, grab a piece of fruit. No one is doing that with a lemon. At least I really hope not. Yeah.
1950s, you know, impoverished Italy, small town, doesn't have the variety of tropical fruits, perhaps.
Yeah,
like, maybe that's like the local fruit, you know, like that's what the land is so rich of.
Maybe
lemons.
They say the name of the town once. Do you remember what it was, Jason? Because I remember
did you look it up? Because I looked it up because I did.
Sort of a G.
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo, that's it.
Giancarlo.
So I'm wondering if welcome to Giancarlo, Italy's finest lemons.
Give me a second. Giancarlo lemons. I'm on it.
The other problem I had is very minor, but it's like Salvatore goes off, you know, to he's told, you know, like, explore the world and the world's your oyster, just attack it with love and get out there and see what life has in store for you. And he goes like an hour away. Like, he doesn't leave Italy, like that kind of thing. I imagine the language barrier may be part of that, but he's talking to his mother or sister or something later, and they're like, "So you're still just an hour away?" And he's like, "Yeah." Kind of thing. So, because I think he lives in Rome, right? They're like an hour.
It's an hour
Rome,
flight. Yes.
It's like, come on, mate.
Don't tell me that after all these years.
Yeah, that's right. That was the line. Yeah. So, other than that, tiny plot detail where I was like, what? You know, you should be cultured and live in like two parts of the world and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, no, I'm just down there.
What about you, Jess? Anything?
I didn't know why that guy walked up to him and asked for his autograph at the end, like towards the end.
He's a director, and
Yeah, well,
like,
I didn't know he was a director.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah. When that happened, I had no idea why. And
Yeah.
they called him like Doctor something.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah. That's why I was like, man, I'm not asking my doctor for an autograph.
I'm like, he must have like cured some disease or done something. Like he's the head of medicine or something. Or maybe that's a medical student. That's why they know who he is. Like not just a regular so and so. But that's what I was doing in my head. And then later it's like, your new movie is doing so well. I'm like, oh, he
must be a
doctor
director.
then? I don't understand how he was.
But like, it makes sense because he fell in love with cinema and he was walking around with that like camera the whole time. And
that part makes sense. I don't understand why he's a doctor and why he changed his name and all that kind of stuff.
So it was that. But
they should have added another 15-20 minutes of runtime so that it could get into that.
Get that.
Really
get I guess that's why. But like, by the end of the film you go, oh, okay, he's the director. Like, that's I can't think of anything outright. I think they showed a lot of passage of time very well. Like when he got drafted into the army, a lot of time like skips happened in there, and I felt like they did a good job in explaining that to the audience. Because usually a lot of times films do that, and you have no idea of the sense of the time that's gone by.
My other thought was that adolescent Toto was too good looking. He was like,
the whole time I'm thinking like, he is smoldering.
It is nuts how good looking he is, and no one mentions it. Like, he's not like literally beating girls off with a stick as he like goes home from school or whatever. It's just like nobody pays attention, nobody notices him. He's just the local projectionist. That's all he's known as. It's like,
if you
looked up smoke show.
If you looked up male supermodels around the 90s era, it's him. Like, he's on the front cover somewhere, you know? Damn it.
He's like
stuck
that,
with this.
What's that guy? Oh, I can't remember the dude's name. The model who modeled for book covers and
Fabio.
He's like Fabio. It's like a late teenage version of Fabio, early 20s.
Without the hair.
Without the hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Jason's criticism. Too handsome. Let's get into spoilers now. And Ben, I think I want to start with your moral dilemma there. Do you want to just dive deeper into that?
All right. So Toto is just kind of content with his life as a projectionist. He doesn't have dreams for bigger and better things, but Alfredo has these dreams for him. Like he says at one time, like, I've known this whole time what he's going to do. Like, this is his destiny. There's nothing more. There's nothing else for this kid in this town. This is fated for him. He needs to go away and do great things. And he says it to him like a number of conversations that they have throughout the movie. Like, you don't want to be like me. You don't want to be stuck in a dead-end job. You don't want to just have nothing to look forward to except this life for the rest of your life. The world's your oyster. You need to get out of here. You need to go and explore it and do bigger and better things. And it could be because the time of the time of the film being in the mid 20th century didn't really gel with how we think of people going through adolescence and planning their lives now. There might have been in Italy during that time, like, not as much opportunity for someone just to go like, oh, I'm going to go to tech, I'm going to become a plumber, I'm going to do this versus someone else going like, oh, I'm thinking of traveling for a bit. You know, there wasn't that freedom for people back then, perhaps, um, which is why it was so hard for me to gel with that part of it a little bit, like how he doesn't have these aspirations that Alfredo has for him, and how it's like it seems like such a big ask for this life to eventuate for him, where he grows older and becomes a like world famous filmmaker, you know? Um, so perhaps that's the excuse for Alfredo doing the despicable stuff that I can only call that despicable. So anyway, what he does is he lies to Elena and to Toto both, basically to split them up so that they would never find each other again. Once he tries to come back and look for her, he doesn't tell her about this conversation he had with her, saying, you know, leave him behind, and it's like, oh, it gets me, you know. He's the root cause for a lot of heartache for Salvatore, for Toto, for the rest of his life. He was unable to fill this huge hole in his heart because the one true love or whatever got away, and he could never find anybody again that made him feel this way. And it was all because of what Alfredo did. He sent him away, he sent her away, made sure, like, he constantly was saying, like, this is for the best. All girls do is cause, I don't know if he said all girls just cause trouble, the blue-eyed ones are the worst, but he's basically saying all relationships fizzle out in the end, and they just end up being a waste of time, and your life is wasted with this pursuit. Instead, you should be out making a career for yourself or whatever. So that's Alfredo's opinion. He's also married for some reason, so you know, I see that in comedy a lot, where married comedians do bits about like how marriage is just a bad contract and you shouldn't get married. It's a
Louis
horrible
C.K.
idea.
Look forward to getting married, but then look forward to getting divorced.
Yeah, that's right. He does it the best. And how divorce is always a great thing. Like when a relationship ends, it's like, no, that's the end of something bad. It's a great thing that this has happened, yeah. But
should be having divorce parties.
Yeah. But okay, so with that light shone on Alfredo, like his subterfuge has come to light like decades later. Like it's too late, you know, it's too late to rekindle this relationship. Is kind of like the attitude that everyone has. It's we're old now. It's life has happened to us, and we missed out. We missed our shot with this aspect of life. Like he had a great life. Don't get me wrong. Like he had a fantastic career and probably made a bunch of friends. Had a great experience throughout the decades. But he never married. He never had kids. He never settled down and found his soulmate or whatever. And it's Alfredo's fault, right? And he's left to, once he realizes what happened, he's left with that juxtaposition, like, oh, this man who was like a father to me, who meant everything to me, and is the cause of all of my happiness, is also the cause of all my pain. And the way that the movie suggests we wrap that up is just kind of like, don't blame him, he was right in the end, kind of, we couldn't have had it all, kind of an attitude. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. If I did a good summary of that as well, if you guys see it differently.
Yeah, no, the only thing I'd say is I not say I'm poking holes in how you've constructed it all, but if we start at the beginning, you know, the Alfredo's philosophy is first presented to us when young Toto is just so darn curious about cinema and being projectionist and wants to be Alfredo and be like him, and he just loves the world of cinema, so he wants to know everything about it, right? He's fascinated by the whole thing. And that's when you first get that pitch from Alfredo saying, you know, this is me and my life. You don't want this, and it's for your own good that you don't get involved, because this isn't the life that you want, essentially. So that I'm totally on board with. This is, you know, a guy recognizing like I can have a positive impact in this kid's life. Now, when he sends him away, it's after Toto
gosh, I didn't even touch on that part. Like how he says, like, don't even come back. Don't fucking call or visit me. don't come back to the town where your family lives. Your mother and sister are living here. Don't talk to them for the next generation of time. Anyway, go ahead, Shane.
Yeah. And then the next one is when it's adolescent Toto, and I think this comes after him having waited 100 days outside of Elena's window, or 99 days, whatever it was, and him later realizing that, well, we won't get into that, but he later understands the story with the soldier based on his own personal experience. But that's when Alfredo turns to him and says what you just noted, Ben. Get out of here. And my favorite line, I don't want to hear you. Is it, I don't want to ever hear you again. I want to hear about you.
I want to hear about you.
I don't want to hear you. I want to hear about you. Basically saying, run away from this small town life. There's nothing left for you here. The world is your oyster, and go and achieve great things that I will then hear about, because you're so famous and amazing. And then he does that, and that's for me. It's sort of where I want to maybe poke a hole in how you've constructed it, is that yes, he says all those things to Elena when she comes back for him, but whether he says those things or not, I'm not sure that there was ever a chance of, let's say Alfredo didn't say any of that to Elena. I'm not sure it would have made a difference, right? Because Toto's not coming back at all. Nothing that Alfredo said to Elena influenced Toto's actions for those 30 years.
Well, no, but she did give a message to Alfredo to say, we're going here. Please tell Toto I love him and don't give up hope, or whatever it was that she didn't even actually elaborate what exactly she said. But she said she gave a message to Alfredo, and Alfredo could have just delivered that message, because Toto comes back. He's like, did she come? And he's like, no one came. Sorry, buddy. He lies to him.
Oh yeah.
Both lies, and then admits the truth. He doesn't give him the message, and also fabricates that nobody.
Yeah, true.
Nobody showed up.
I forgot about
gives
that bit.
him a cause to be really hurt by this girl. She didn't show up. She didn't write. She didn't do any. She just disappeared. Well, no, she didn't. She did everything in her power to contact him, and then disappeared on Alfredo's advice, and didn't contact him again on Alfredo's advice. But yeah.
Okay, so in my head,
it could have been different.
Okay, in my head, I thought she came back after he had left.
No, it was literally that day. He's looking at the watch. He's like, sure, she said she'd be here on the bus. She's not here on the bus. Meanwhile, the reason she's not is because she's in this big feud with her parents. Let me see him. No, I love him. No, you're not allowed to go. And then at the same time that he jumps in his car and drives to her place, she's in the car with her dad coming to visit him because she's convinced she's got a small victory.
Ah, right. Okay.
Let me at least say goodbye to him one last time. And they miss each other, Notebook style. And he is banging on the door, and the mother is inside, not answering the fucking door. What a bitch! And he's like, "Open the door! I've got to see her." And she's just listening to it all happen. Oh, this is funny. And then meanwhile, while that's happening, she's visiting Alfredo and being told,
"Okay, yeah, no,
go, don't come back."
That's all making sense to me.
Don't talk to her. We've got to both do this for Toto. Let's break his heart. That kind of thing. And then so she goes, he comes back. Is she here? No, she's gone.
Yeah, when you construct it,
nobody came.
When you construct it like that, it's I can totally see your predicament, Ben, where it's like, who's he to say that he can't have his cake and eat it too, right? Who's he to say that he can't live a meaningful, happy life with Elena here in this town? Or not necessarily here in this town. Maybe they fall in love, they get married, and then they go on, and he's still as successful. You don't know that, right? So yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from there. And now in my own head, I have this predicament. So that's great.
Later in the movie, when that whole other half of the coin is revealed to us, when she says, "No, but I did. I showed up, and I gave this. I told Alfredo a message, and I left you a note, and all that kind of stuff." Which has one of my favorite lines in it, by the way, when she says, I remember it now, she says, I knew Alfredo couldn't see me, so I snuck back in. It's yeah. He's blind, bitch. Anyway, when she was dropping that dime on I was so cut up inside. I was like, oh, did you do that to him?
Yeah.
That is so dirty.
Yeah.
That is so bad what you just, oh man. And then after that happens and he's like, she's gone. I don't know where she, like, okay, so, sorry, 1 second.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, so all of that happened the day before he has to go report to try and get out of military service, but instead he gets conscripted for a year. So he's like, all this uncertainty, where is she? I have no idea what's happening. And then I'm stuck here forever and I can't contact her. And then he gets back and all he gets is like, you know, oh, maybe it's probably for the best. She's a bitch like them all. They're all bitches. They all break your heart in the end.
Blue-eyed
do.
bitches, eh?
They do.
Yeah, he uses the bad seed he's sown in Toto's heart to convince him even more of his point of view. That's what I'm feeling with that conversation on the dock. You know, when they're talking and just before he decides to leave, like he convinces him to leave basically in that scene on the dock, and he's talking to him. And I can't remember exactly what they say, but it's more of the same. You know how these things all end up in shambles. Eventually, you're on the other side of it now. You've got to really get out there and don't come back, and then they go to the train scene. But yeah, on second reflection of that, all of that stuff, once you know what he did behind Toto's back, I'm like, man, I don't know if everyone's letting him off of the hook, you know, after like all those years. I guess it doesn't matter, after what's done is done kind of thing, but still I'm torn. Battling brilliant.
For me, that predicament, like, there's a small film called Mallrats, and the whole movie is one of the characters is trying to get back together with his girlfriend, and he has this conversation with Stan Lee, and Stan Lee makes up this story to help him out, and says, because Stan Lee, being Stan Lee, the comic book writer as he was, said, I came up with this story. It's like, I had this young sweetheart, and you know, she's gone forever now, and I'll never see her again. But you know, if I could trade it, all of my fame and all of my success, being Stan Lee, if I can trade all of that in for just one more day with that girl, I would totally do it. And yeah, I don't know. I always think about that. I guess, but like everyone's priorities are different, right? I know some people chase a career and success through the career, and some people, chase something that's a bit more closer to their heart, which is someone that they, could love and spend the rest of their lives with. So, and throughout my life, my priorities have changed. Do I want a career? Do I want someone to love? Do I want a ray tracing 4K graphics card? It's hard. And I guess it's up to the individual to dictate those. What's more important to them, and for Toto, what was more important for him at the time was Elena, and throughout his whole life, never that priority he thought could change, but never did. Because he said it to her as well, like, I kept looking for you in every woman that I was seeing throughout my whole life. So it looks like that his priority was always her, and luckily he was able to find success in his career as well. But he was always missing that one thing. And would he have wanted to trade everything in to be with her for the rest of her life, the rest of his life, or would he have found success? And it's a very interesting argument. I think everyone would have a very different opinion on that, which makes for a really interesting conversation.
Have you guys seen On Cecil Beach?
What'd you call me? No, I haven't. Sorry.
It's a Saoirse Ronan film, and
then why haven't I seen it?
I was about to
why
say.
haven't you?
Oh,
It is brutal. It is brutal, and it's exactly like this kind of.
Alrighty,
world
On
in this
Cecil
pocket.
Beach.
I'm on it.
How can we watch it?
Yeah,
do you
if you
how do you
can watch
spell
it,
it?
do. Cecil. I'm not going to spell on or beach.
I just did
Uh, I'm looking at it on. Hang on Cecil
that.
Beach.
I think it's
C
called on Cecil Beach.
C H E
Oh, it's
S.
Chesil Beach. Sorry, Chesil. Chesil.
Chesil.
Oh, it's an Ian McEwan film.
Not available on your streaming services, so nothing for me. Sorry.
Ian McEwan,
Anyway,
the
similar
author.
thing, Ben.
Very similar thing, and mate, yeah, it's like the would I do it all again, or
Okay, yeah.
if only I had my time. But it's more than that. Oh man, it is. I'm never watching it again. It hurts so much.
Okay.
Is it like a Her situation? Because I feel like that as well. Like I watched Her, loved it, will recommend it to so many people, but I don't think I can bring myself to watch it again.
Oh yeah, it is similar. It's
heartbreaking.
I watched it again
you know?
not long ago. I don't know. I think I prepared myself.
Yeah,
I survived it. Speaking of hurting so much, can I just I'm surprised I haven't cried this whole thing. But I need to share this thought, and this is probably the thought that might actually trigger me, and that is again, I go back to the main reason I love this film, and that is it's joked about from the character's perspective as well, but Alfredo has no friends, right? And he is this little kid who he invests himself in, and there's this beautiful reciprocal love between a mentor and a mentee. And my favorite line is my favorite line because he gives up all of his friendships. He gives up other than hopefully his wife, probably the most meaningful friendship in his entire life, just to make sure that his friend has the best life he possibly can. That to me is one of the most brilliant things I've seen in films. It moves me so much. And again, it gets me thinking about people who've wanted that for me in my life, that's why this film hits home so hard. It's brilliant.
It links perfectly to the last scene in the movie too.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to get to when I was thinking
God.
about it.
That was the perfect ending to this movie too.
Yeah.
And honestly, it reminded me of La La Land, where the ending to that film is just that when the score comes back and you know what's coming, when Ryan Gosling gets up on that stage, when Sebastian sits down at the piano, and he has to play a song, and he's already seen Mia in the audience, and you know the song that he's about to play. And similar thing here, that the score takes you on this fantastic journey, just like it does in La La Land, where it's this cinematic depiction of what could have been. Whereas this, it's just let's take you on a journey of what what you're seeing currently on the screen right now means to Toto. And man, the brilliant acting from adult Toto in that moment, no words, no speaking.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there in the cinema, and all his subtle gestures and the way that he's reacting to what he's watching. Oh man, I just wanted to give him due diligence as well, because there are a lot of moments throughout, particularly the last act, the last third of the film, where he comes back and
oh man,
just the way
brutal.
I know the way he emotes and just expresses himself not through words was just so subtle, so on point. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You guys have favorite shots? My favorite shot was young Toto looking through the little preview hole up at Alfredo.
Oh yeah,
it's watching the movie, and he's run up and he's oh, that was perfect shot.
Honestly, any shot of young Toto laughing, that kid, he charmed me hard, just like you, Ben. He's just so.
Oh, I loved it when he at the very start when he was peeking through the curtains and watching the pastor censor all the films.
Oh man, that priest was just
and he's got this big
town and
grin on his
everything.
Yeah, it was great.
When shot, cinematic shot, is when he's walking down the street on New Year's and the fireworks are going off.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's throwing the plates and cups
Yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah.
Cinematically, like that was a very, very pretty composition. It's really cool.
I've just got the trailer up. I'll throw it up on the screen now so people can see. But I'm just trying to find some of my favorites.
way.
Small charming moments. Also, sorry to catch you off, but just quickly before it leaves my mind, that's a great shot there. Like the one where he's he's looking through the film. But the one where small, that's like really charming moments as well that just made me smile. Like when the first screening that you see as part of the film, and two gentlemen like arrive a bit late and the film's already underway and they're just like, "Hello, everybody!" Everyone's like, "Shut up!" It's like, "What? I can't say hello?" Was it? Anyway, yeah, you were saying, Ben.
That moment where it's New Year's and he gives up, like, I'm done, with waiting, and then she meets him back at the Paradiso, and okay, so it's after midnight. She shows up at his door. And there's no words spoken. It's like we both know that we love each other, kind of thing, and then they kiss. It's like
someone should write a song about this.
No, it's like problem. It's not a problem, but problems with movies and TV shows is when scenes end. That is not the end of the conversation. Like, two people are having this conversation. One guy says like the last line, and we go to a different scene. It's like that is not how that conversation ends. They more things are said, and so like knowing that they didn't actually end up having sex, but that happened on New Year's night, and they're in the cinema and there's no one else around, and they're kissing or whatever, and they're in love, and they're teenagers and whatever. That scene doesn't end there, where they're just like kissing. It's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Like, it's just like untenable that they don't like just rip each other's clothes off.
Particularly when he's looking like that, right, Chase?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Yeah. He's prettier than she is. Oh, and I totally got a Shoshana vibe from the actress.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what?
Shoshana.
What do you mean?
Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you think that she looks like Shoshana?
I don't know who Shoshana is. I've only seen.
Au revoir, Shoshana. Oh, come on, Chase.
I bet you Tarantino cast that girl because she looks like the girl from Cinema Paradiso. After all, she owns a cinema in Tarantino's film.
Oh, Melanie Laurent's character.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
It looks just like her, man. Looks just like her.
Anyway, that is Cinema Paradiso. If you can't tell, watch it. Go watch it. The link is in the YouTube description if you're watching it after the fact. It's in chat right now if you're watching live. Yeah, my goodness,
literally free.
What a masterpiece.